Hello. Sorry I'm a little late for our happy hour. I was taking care of a cat and having a little bit of a snacky poo. You know what the song I thought inside my head as I was coming to this live? I was thinking of that Beatles song. You say you want a revolution. Well, we all want to change the world. You know that song? You say about something institution. Well. Are we looking at revolution? The big monstrosity has passed. At first, it didn't pass in the House. It's interesting that we saw a Five of Wands conflict back and forth. It was hard to read. It got passed in the Senate, then it didn't pass in the House, then it got passed in the House. I never like to give bad news. Those cards were not that great, but we did have some good cards on Tuesday. This reminds me what happened the last time Trump passed something like this. And do you remember the song that the Democrats sang? The Democrats sung a song on the House floor. And do you guys remember what the song was? They're only ahead, 4 seats? Is that right? How many seats do they have ahead of the Democrats? Everybody thought it was the Democrats' fault that we were in a trade war and that the economy was bad. Everybody hear me okay? Yeah, they started singing, na, 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 hey, 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 goodbye. That's the song we should be singing right now, because what they did today guarantees what? What were we guaranteed today by the actions of the House? Anybody know? Midterms, right? Midterms. What does this bode well for the midterms? What about the America First Party started by Elon Musk? Remember what Elon Musk said, that he was going to start an America First Party if they did this, and that he was going to challenge uh, every single district. Do you think we're looking at all-out civil war? Sorry, I was going to light my candles, but I can't find my matches anywhere. That's kind of strange. I think Mila walked off with them. All right, Mila was up here. Oh, no, here they are. I always blame. She always looks at me like, "Yeah, I always blame me for everything." Yeah. You guys know that song? Na 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 na. Hey hey hey, goodbye. But I was thinking more about the song Revolution. All right. Cedar wood. It's green, so you can see through it because it's a green coloring. Cedar wood. Hey, cedar tree, clap your hands and dance with me. Hey, 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 cedar tree, Clap your hands and pray with me. Hey, 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 cedar tree, clap your hands and dance with me. Hey, 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 may we be blessed by cedar, which purifies the space, gives us wisdom. Well, folks, how you feeling out there in beautiful YouTube land? Do you think we are looking at revolution? Because I'm not feeling the energy of that song of na 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 na. That's mild. That's a mild song compared to where we're headed. I'm feeling more like we're talking about a revolution, right? We're talking about a revolution. This is what took Trump out before, and this is what takes Trump out again. Remember, we had fun. We had taken a look at the Sarah Cooper video of what had happened. Do you remember that they passed the bill and they started singing na 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 na? And because they knew what? They knew that they knew that the people didn't want it. So what do you think is going to happen? What is the support on this bill? And what is the bill doing? Right? Oops. Okay, so let's look at what happened last time, courtesy of the brilliant Sarah Cooper. Let's do this one more time, just because we need to be reminded that we have been here before, right? We've been here before. Have we been here before? Here's what happened last time.
During the day, and I was there for a tiny little short period of time, and it was much more for an inspection. There was no problem during the day. And I've gone down 2 or 3 times, all for inspection. And you go there, someday you may need it, but you go there, and I went down, I looked at it, it was during the day, it was not a problem.
Sometimes the Secret Service even tells the president, I can't do this. So you tell me, Mr. President, they didn't say to you, you have to go downstairs, my responsibility is your welfare. They didn't limit you at all in the House?
Nope, they didn't tell me that at all, but they said it would be a good time to go down, take a look, because maybe sometime you're going to need it. And I've been down, let's see, that would be number 2.5, sort of, because I've done different things, but 2.5. But I looked, I was down for a very, very short period of time, very, very short period of time.
Okay. How we doing? Bring back memories of the last time. When was that? That was right before Christmas, right? He passed the bill. Then they sang some songs, and then all hell broke loose. People were so angry, they broke through the barricade, and for his safety, he was taken down into the bunker, right? So what's happening here? I have some notes, by the way. I did a remote last night, and I'd like to share it with you. So What are we seeing happening? What's going on with the national debt? Wasn't the whole point that he was supposed to get the national debt down? So who's responsible for the national debt? The first was the major Reagan tax cuts, right? Then those were continued on under Bush. So we had 12 years of tax cuts benefiting the rich. And during the 90s, we also had exposés on money being transferred outside the United States in accounts in the Cayman Islands, the Panama Papers, etc. Does everybody remember this? And so not only were they giving themselves more money, so we have more billionaires, we have a greater financial discrepancy between the rich and everybody else. But the other thing that they started doing with the money that could be taxed is they started hiding it. They came up with this brilliant way to hide it. So who was the person who was showing people how to hide the money? It was Trump, right? So he was going on the circuit in the 1990s, and he was doing these events for the successful entrepreneur about how you could avoid paying your taxes. And they talked about all kinds of things, but like hiding it in real estate, basically how you could legally buck the system, legal ways to engage in money laundering, etc. So he was the 90s kid who taught everybody basically how to not pay their taxes. And so that's what they did. They figured out ways to hide their money. They bought assets, etc., took money outside the United States. And then what happens after that? What happens in the late 90s, 2000s? They come up with another way to hide their money, which was decentralized coins, right? And what were they doing with the decentralized coins? They were hiding money from business transactions that they were hiding from the federal government, which opened up a series of investigations into crypto and illegal activity, criminal activity that was linked to crypto, like drug running and human trafficking, right? So it became a vehicle to move their money and hide their money and pay for illegal activities in other areas, other countries, remote islands, private islands, etc. And so what we had what had always been and what has not ended. We had triangular trade, where you had the slaves being moved, right, through mega yachts. So what they were doing was the same thing they had always done, which is sugar, whiskey slaves, sugar, rum slaves, right? Sugar made the rum. You sold the rum, then you got the money, you got the slaves, right? So it was triangular trade. So now we have crypto engaged in drugs, right? So they're selling drugs. They're buying slaves, right? And then they're also making money through sex trafficking. What else were they doing? As if this wasn't bad enough. Well, say you have investments in pharmaceutical companies that are making the precursors for opioids. And you don't want to be linked back to it, because those opioids, investing in those companies which are making the precursor of opioids in China, what happens? The precursors are sent to the Costra, what are they called? The no Costra, whatever they, Costra, blah, blah. I don't know the name of the gangs, but, and then they turn them into fentanyl, right? Those precursors. And so now you have triangular trade. You have the money from the drug precursors, which goes to the opioids, which gives you money in drugs, which you then use to buy slaves, right? And then you're also making money from the slaves. How are you making money from the slaves? The sex slaves, right? and the other slaves. They got all kinds of slaves. They got breeder slaves. They've got whole islands, private islands that are built up with villages of nothing but slaves and people that hold those communities on plantations on private islands, still to this day. So what are the slaves doing on these plantations? Born into slavery, dying into slavery, can't leave these private areas in these poorly monitored islands. That's what it is. So you have an area you have a compound. Say you buy a compound. Say you're a multi-billionaire and you've got this compound somewhere near the Cayman Islands. And you turn it into a village, right? So it becomes a village. A village of what? A village of slaves. There's always been a village of slaves. So what's going on at the village of slaves? You may keep your slaves there, right? So you buy a portion to keep your slaves there. And you may tell yourself, I love my slave. I love my slave. We get them little trinkets. We buy them little toys and things. They don't know any different. They were born slaves and they'll die slaves. They have no rights. So there's no age requirement. You can have sex with your slave. But we don't kill them because slaves are expensive, right? So this is where they house the slaves, right? They house the slaves in this compound on these remote islands. So I'm going to keep her there, him there in the compound where you will live and die. Then you've got your mega yachts, right? You got your mega yachts that are coming in and hosting these parties. Come to my compound and see my slaves. What's happening on the mega yachts? What's happening in the compounds? Sex parties with children born into slavery who from a very early age are told this is how the game is played. They will never leave the village. They will live in the village and they will die in the village. Generational slavery outside the perimeter of whoever, because once a slaveholder, always a slaveholder. And just because they said we couldn't do it in the 48 don't mean we can't do it somewhere else. So we took our money and we bought compounds in remote islands that used to be part of the slave trade. And we built villages, plantations that are monitored with our own security. And what are we doing? We're making sex tapes, right? We're shooting films. We're selling them to rich guys that come in on mega yachts. We're running drugs and we're making the new slaves drug addicts, right? So where are we getting the new slaves? Kidnapped people. Indigenous children from reservations have gone missing, simply captured and sold to a trafficker, then put on a boat and sent to one of these islands, transferred from a small boat to a larger boat. The foster care system. We could talk a little bit about Diddy and how Diddy basically brought, what was Diddy's crime? He became one of the drug runners, bringing in drugs, liquid cocaine. That was part of what? The triangular trade. Can you guys see that? So what is the goal? If we keep paying more and more taxes and they keep hiding their money and using it for illegal activities and hiding it in remote islands on compounds where they keep thousands of slaves, you know, it's amazing that people got out of those compounds alive and were able to give testimony to Interpol, etc. We're talking about concentration camps with 500 women. They had them they still have them in Eastern Europe, by the way, which is how the oligarchs made their money. drugged them out, kidnapped women that went for cleaning jobs in Moscow, women from poor villages in the former Soviet Union. Slavery is alive and well in Eastern Europe. What was the response from Czech and everywhere else, from all of the, what did the police do when the women escaped? Minimize, trivialize, debase, discard. Minimize, trivialize, debase, discard. I heard a friend, she had another friend in Czech. They were going to meet for coffee. Her friend never showed up. Friend went missing for months. Friend finally escaped and she had been kidnapped. What happened was she was walking down the street in Czech and a man from some Arab country decided that she was going to be his wife. So he kidnapped her. He kidnapped her, took her back to his apartment, locked her in, raped her, held her hostage, and informed her that she was now his wife. She got to meet his whole family, other women that were in burqas. Oh, you will make a good wife. After a couple of months, she started to believe that she was his wife, and she began to behave as his wife. Stockholm syndrome, right? One day he leaves the door unlocked and she wanders out onto the streets, and then she snaps out of it and runs back to her friends, back to the apartment. They say, we've got to go to the Czech police. They go to the Czech police. The Czech police kicked her out and said, we're not here to help you work out your issues with your boyfriend. Free meat. Free meat. Free meat to eat. Yum, yum. Those women and children are nothing but free meat. They're free meat to eat. Trivialized, debased, discarded. Minimized, trivialized, debased, discarded. So the people that they were going to for help, adult protective services, child protective services, the foster care system, the police, don't care. Humans trafficked between Nepal, India, Pakistan. What are the Pakistani police looking for? What are the police in India looking for? Drugs. What about children? Massive amounts of children moving back and forth. Are they checking for that? No, of course not, because they don't care. What's the response when they interviewed the people at the border at Pakistan? Why are you letting all these children coming in, these orphans? What do you want us to do? A man has to have sex. This was the response. A man has to wait until his 30s to have sex. What do you expect him to do? He needs to go to the prostitutes. So we allow the prostitution because these men, we have compassion for these men who don't get to have sex until their 30s because they don't have enough money to pay for a bride. So we got to give them something. They can't afford a wife right now. So we just let them traffic children out of Pakistan. You have pimps that will buy poor children in Afghanistan, etc. And immediately, I got to get my money back, right? This is the mentality of a slaveholder. Well, girl, you got to go out and work. I got to get my money back. I paid $4,500 for you. I got to get my money back. That's how it works, sugar, right? So what happens to somebody like Diddy who has the money to bribe people, to compromise a trial? Throw it out. Who is compromised in the United States? If you're talking about running girls and drugs along the East Coast, all the way from Florida, the mega yachts of Florida, the private islands, the compounds that hold slaves, the fact that they still have the same controlled areas. The plantation is alive and well. We just changed addresses. Who went to the parties? Who went to the parties in Mar-a-Lago? Who got on Epstein's plane? Who got on? He's just one guy who was considered what? What was he considered? He was considered a VIP, right? This is a very important person. So what does it tell you and me and everybody else that instead of being in prison for the rest of his life under Clinton and everybody else, that instead he was treated like a VIP? The Johnny Depp trial. Yes, Johnny Depp was also meeting on the same mega yachts, right? There's a pattern forming. What is the pattern? One of the things we like to do as remote viewers is we don't really see the future, but we look for patterns. What's happening? What's happening to our courts? What's happening on these boats? Are the boats taped? Is every room on the yacht filming the activities of whoever happens to be on there? How easy would it be to compromise a member of government, a judge, a Supreme Court judge, a politician, a businessman who thinks that he's been invited to Palm Beach or wherever, Martha's Vineyard? There's been a lot of activity on Martha's Vineyard. What do you guys think? What are we looking at? You want to talk about it? So if they keep not paying their taxes, and they don't seem to want to pay their taxes, and we keep paying their taxes, and we keep going further and further in debt every time they cut paying taxes, what do we have? We have diminished rights and diminished resources. So what are they going to do to Social Security? You won't be able to collect it at 62. You won't be able to collect it at 72. Maybe you'll be able to collect it at 80. Well, you can still work, little girl. Well, you can work from your bed. You can work with your oxygen mask on. You're a slave. Go make me some money, honey. So what happens to social services? The problem isn't the social services. The problem isn't entitlements. Yes, we are entitled. We worked very hard for those entitlements. What happens with rolling back all of the benefits of FDR in the late 30s and 40s? What's happening here? The GI Bill, Social Security, nutritional supplementation brought in by Truman, right? Enriching the wheat so that we didn't have birth defects in children that didn't have adequate folic acid. These were good programs. Well, we just roll them back. Not because they were too expensive, but because they started paying less and less and less and less and less taxes. So if they're not paying the taxes, who's paying the taxes? You're paying their taxes. If they're not paying their employees more than $7.25 an hour, and that's in states where it's mandatory to have a minimum wage. In many states, that you don't even have that. Whose responsibility is it to buy the groceries for the kid that works at Kmart and Walmart and everywhere else? Who's paying for the groceries? Well, you are, little gal, through your taxes and through food programs of supplementation, because I ain't going to pay their wages. They're slaves, right? So the slaves at Walmart, the slaves of Kmart, and the slaves of Target, all the people that are living on less money, are requiring handouts from you and me through food supplementation programs, right? And if this trend continues, what? We go deeper into debt, they get richer, and we collapse. The middle class will collapse. The poor are on the streets, sleeping on the streets, sleeping on their cars. What about wealth? What about the children of the foster care system? Pro-life. Pro-life. Yeah, pro-life. What happens to all those babies that were not terminated from women with drug addictions, mental health problems, malnutrition, alcoholism? What's going to happen to those babies that get born? They're going to be born what? Learning disabled, mental disabilities, learning disabilities and challenges, fetal alcohol syndrome and other related conditions due to malnutrition, and a parent born addicted. They're going to be sent where? They're going to be sent to the foster care system, which is already swelling with over 500,000 children. And what happens to them then? We pimp them out, baby. So how do you do that? You bribe people out of CPS. This is what happened. This is how Diddy was able to get fresh meat, fresh free meat to eat. Yum, yum. All he had to do was become a certified foster parent. What about Justin Bieber? How was he able to get access to Justin Bieber and have fun? Woohoo! Free meat to eat. Justin Bieber for a weekend, 48 hours. Signing over parental rights. What if you're a poor woman who wants your son to get into the music business? Maybe you got a drug problem and you think that Diddy's going to help you. Are you going to sign parental rights of your child over to Diddy, thinking that now someone's going to take care of my child? What did Diddy do with those children? Who went to those parties? Who went to those parties? And what happened when they went to those parties? Who was at the parties? What did they do at the parties? They were filmed, right? And so are they compromised? Are they compromised and are they hiding? What is it that they knew? What did they turn state's evidence? Justin Bieber, yeah, possibly wearing a wire. He was checked to see if he was wearing a wire, right? Who else was at the party? A lot of people were at those parties, right? One of the things that I think has happened to many of us is that we have seen our idols torn down. You know, we had idols. Denzel Washington. I always thought he was the most handsome man in Hollywood. I saw his performance, Malcolm X. Definitely Academy Award performance. Brilliant actor. You know, he really embodied Malcolm X in that movie. So I had a huge crush on this guy. I named my computer Denzel. So what's happening to our idols? They have feet of clay, right? What is the hard lesson that we as human beings have to learn from the story of the golden calf? Maybe we were worshiping the wrong people. Well, Charlie Chaplin raped a 14-year-old girl in his bathroom. So, I mean, he had so many mistresses. They all lived in the same apartment building in West Hollywood. You know, he had his own encampment, Charlie Chaplin, right? So, if this trend continues, the power will continue to be centralized. The wealthy will continue to not pay their taxes. The debt will continue. America will collapse. And the burden of trying to hold this ship afloat as the surfs, the boat will sink. Do you think that the people that are doing this to our country care about our country? Lindsey Graham. I had a party that I was going to. It was on Martha's Vineyard. What did you do on Martha's Vineyard? Why did you keep going to those parties? I think it is important for all of us, you know, when I started pointing out that these people are not who you think they are. I think there's a reason why God made me become a naturopathic doctor in Hollywood. I treated some of these people. I knew these people. I'm not going to mention names, but I treated them. I was the doctor. I heard it all. I saw it all. And people still didn't want to believe me. So my question to you is, okay, I will take this out. But the point is, oops, sorry. All right. So let me show you this, and then we'll open up the floor to conversations. We'll do the empath prayer. We'll do some blitzes.
They want to know how we're going to do it, how the public is going to take him. Is the public going to let him back in? And the public is not. The public is already canceling him. I don't believe the industry has canceled him yet. All those people who went to those Diddy parties, not one of them had came out and denounced.
CNN just dropped some shocking news. Oprah Winfrey might be connected to crimes involving Diddy. This explosive report has the entertainment world buzzing and people questioning Oprah's integrity and the company she keeps.
So now we have all these people who may themselves be compromised. I don't know if Oprah had anything to, she might have been completely innocent, but the point is that people have questions, people have concerns about who went to the party. Not that necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily accuse anybody like her. According to some of the victims, Denzel Washington participated in acts of pedophilia, according to some of the children who were victims. So we're the mark. You're the mark. I'm the mark. What happens if we say, hey, I'm the mark? What's the response? You ever listen to any of these debt-free channels that are put out by Republicans? What is the mantra? Well, stop drinking lattes, you latte breath. It's because you drank too many lattes. You are not a victim. You are not a victim. I'm not? No. And if you say that, it's because you're feeling sorry for yourself. You're not a victim. Dave Ramsey. Woo, you ain't no victim. We can rape, steal, rob, take away your retirement, and you are not a victim. You ain't no victim. It's the ultimate gaslighting. Better not say you're a victim. What a who's she, a loser? She's such a loser. She's claiming to be a victim. Oh, poor little you. Oh, you can't pay your rent. Oh, you can't pay your child's medical costs because they got a special disability. Well, get a second and third job. You ain't a victim. You ain't a victim, right? So it isn't just that the entire country is being raped by these policies. You don't have a right to call it out, because if you call it out, well, oh, bless your heart. Bless your little heart, your little tiny heart. Play me the smallest violin. It's the greatest country in the world. It's the richest country on earth. Get a damn second job. Third job if you have to. You were not a victim. You were not a victim. So, what's a girl to do? What's a guy to do? What are we going to do with all this information? What people have always done, they rise up and you see a revolution, hopefully not a violent revolution, right? I don't like violence, but it's like with Sarah Cooper, right? When she makes her jokes about him hiding in the bunker. I don't honestly think he cares because he's paid off his debt. I think that he paid off all of his debts to all of the people who, it went all the way to the CIA, FBI, and everybody else. They knew precisely what was going on, and they benefited from it. Our government was in on it. Jeffrey Epstein, he was an informant for the FBI. He would have these parties, and then they would say, give me the dirt, give me the dirt. Right? So, kids on the streets, foster care children. Hey, man, it's just collateral damage. There are more important things. Have fun assaulting the genitalia of babies. Have fun with your little rituals, your freaky little sex rituals, right? We got it all on tape. We're doing important research here. We're compromising people in positions of power. So take your pleasure, boys. It's free meat to eat. Yum, yum, right? Because slavery is alive and well. My family's been in this business for hundreds of years. Slavery's always been here, and slavery always will be here. And I'm training my nephew to be a slaveholder. We go to the islands, to the compound. We're buying slaves, selling slaves, training slaves. That one's a breeder. I want to make a tape with that one. Are we done? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Are we done? What are we going to do about it? If everybody tells you openly what is happening, if the victims are coming out and saying, I was drugged and raped, Justin Bieber was drugged and raped and trafficked in the industry, and they've got film footage, by the way. All of it was taped. You're going to be too humiliated to go and tell anybody what we did to you. You'll keep your mouth shut because you're embarrassed. Drinking the golden juice, right? What was drinking the golden juice, right? So they were filming these degrading ceremonies. Kiss it, lick it, drink it, right? You know, the Torah is filled with wisdom. And one of the things it warns about is do not worship false gods. Don't worship idols with feet of clay, right? They're just of the earth. They're just people, right? So what happens every time we build up a fantasy about somebody? We get a crush on somebody, or it's too good to be true. We fall on our face, and then we have to learn the hard lesson of what? What is the spiritual lesson from the story of the golden calf? You worshiped the wrong God, right? And so Hollywood, to a sense, we called them idols, right? And we worshiped those idols. And what's happened to Hollywood? We gave it, 5 years? That was 5 years ago. Hollywood's a has-been. Everybody's on YouTube now, right? The only way it's going to get better is if you and I remember the values that we believe in. If we do that, it will get better. And those values mean we have to help each other. We cannot wait for them to save us. We must save ourselves. We must help ourselves. We must feed the poor because we too have been poor and because we may be poor now. If we don't begin to start emulating the values that we believe in of being compassionate and humane and stop chasing after the idol, the money and every other idol, and start remembering the most valuable things of being a human being, loving and caring for ourselves and the world, then this country will not make it. You look at people who live frugal lives in villages in Italy, where everybody takes care of everybody. So-and-so is not well today. We will bring you soup, a minestrone, right? We go for a walk with you. Bring Nana, right? Everybody take care of everybody else. What's the life expectancy? Over 100, right? It's one of the blue zones. What do all the blue zones have in common? What do all the blue zones have in common? Those zones where people live over 100. Community. Somebody is there to pick you up when you fall. Love, cooperation, kindness. What do we need truly to be happy? To be people who are living a happy life. Do we need $1 billion? To create a meaningful life where we are caring for ourselves and making the world a better place, what do we really need? Some pasta and olive oil, right? A community that loves and cares about us, checks on us and says, hey, sister, how you doing? You want you to come over on Sunday. We're making dinner. We'd love to have you. To be wanted, to be needed, and to serve our communities. These are the things that sustain us, right? We need to go back to that. Find communities where you can help others and help yourself. You see an animal, help the animal. You see a person in need, help them. Find ways to serve. Find ways to build community. If we do that, we will save the country, but we can no longer rely on the government because the government has not only turned against the people, but the government has been compromised, right? When you get into the mind as a remote viewer of a slaveholder, it's really very simple. There was no way we were going to give up slavery just because it fell in the United States in 1867. We would give up that kind of wealth and power? Are you out of your mind? No, we just moved to another address. You didn't destroy slavery. Once a slave owner, always a slave owner, right? But there's a way out of hell. And the way out of hell is that we have to get ourselves straight, right? We have to get right with ourselves. We have to get right with our own values. You know, what do we believe in? What do we support? What are our values? Why must we believe some complete stranger who we saw in a movie is a nice person because they acted like a nice person when they did an interview on Oprah? It's all even the questions are usually prearranged with, oops, hold on, mute this. Whoa, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a problem over here. I'm trying to mute myself here. Oh, thank you, Micha, for that very generous donation. Yeah, so the spiritual lesson, stop worshiping idols and start returning back to that which you know is true and that which is right. And if we do that, we will save our country. They're just actors. I have been so charmed. When I was in Hollywood, I got charmed so many times. Superstars. And they would just, oh, I'm going to decide to give you 5 minutes of my time. Shouldn't you be so grateful? You're just a freaking actor, man. I'm sorry. But I started to just see objective reality. You're just some freaking actor from Muncie. It's like, what the hell am I doing? What the hell is this? You know, well, you know, my idols kept getting clay feet, right? You know, I would get a huge crush on some guy that was a famous movie star, and then they'd say, you know, we caught him stealing stuff, groceries. He's stealing groceries? Kleptomania. He didn't have to steal the groceries. He had plenty of money. He just didn't feel like he should have to. Well, I think many feel like they believe their own propaganda after a while. And there are celebrities, a lot of them got caught stealing because they begin to believe that they are a god. I'm worshipped as a god. Why should I have to pay for anything? I'm a god. No, you're an actor with a highly active imagination. And the only reason that they created the imagery of the red carpet and Hollywood royalty was to sell more popcorn and movie tickets. It's all made up. It was a marketing ploy to get because the rich wouldn't go to the movies. They went to the theater. Oh, the peasants are going to see those moving pictures. That's what the peasants do. It's lowbrow. Oh, you peasants with your moving pictures. We go to the theater, right? So there was this discrepancy between the rich who went to the theater and the poor who for 5 cents could see a moving picture. Usually Jewish people, poor people, immigrants, right? They were the ones to first see the moving pictures. And then the Warner Brothers, these poor Jewish people who moved out to the desert because the land was cheap, and they started creating stories. They couldn't speak English. like Boris Karloff. They came from places like Lithuania. And they told the stories that they had grown up with, like the first film footage of the Golem. When was the Golem shot? In 1919? You guys ever heard of the Golem? The Golem shot in 1919, yes. It was one of the first full-length movies. And it began to show the potential of, it was 1920 when it was released. I think it was shot in Germany, and of course it was before the Holocaust, so you had Jewish people living in Germany, but you were able to see these stories come alive, and they were the stories of the people because they couldn't get into the theater. They were barred from the theater. And so because they were barred from the theater, they took their stories onto the film. And what you see is the first full length. That's the dandy that seduces the rabbi's daughter. Now, this is supposed to be Prague, and you can see what kind of security the Jews had back then. Don't let this evil man in. There's the rabbi. No, he's okay. You can come and it's nightfall. You can come stay in the Jewish quarter. There's the beautiful. My daughter is very beautiful. Do not talk to the nice Jewish girl. Yeah, she's going to get seduced by that wicked, wicked dandy. Who's depicted as this superficial guy with the superficial outfit. And here's the rabbi praying. This is Rabbi Loeb. Supposedly in the 15th century, he created a Frankenstein, right? He created Frankenstein. He's looking at his Kabbalistic stuff. What's the formula? What's the formula to create a Frankenstein? This is the early origins of the Frankenstein story. And, a guy's got to do what a guy's got to do to protect his village, right? Because they're being invaded by the Gentiles are coming and killing the Jews. And so he's got to create a monster. Well, what would you do? So he does some Hebrew incantation. He's going to his laboratory. Hey, move to my laboratory. Down I go. Yes. He's got the Hebrew there. He's breaking the seal. It is time. It is time. We must, because they're going to, a pogrom was when they would invade it. You can see the symbols on the wall. Look at the protection this poor guy has to have. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What we had to go through. Yes, and there is the clay. He's got all the formula. Wiggly, 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 woo. And yes, they're talking about invading, and lo and behold, yeah, there's the prayers, the incantations. He's going to make a monster. Yeah, very good. Okay, so story is that was the birth of Hollywood. It was just some poor people that didn't have any money creating pictures for the poor, right? They were cheap. We couldn't, they were barred from the New York Athletic Club. They were barred from these events because they didn't want dirty peasants that spoke these strange Yiddish, right? Oh, I don't think there was, maybe the guy that was helping the rabbi was maybe Igor. Yes, and so, yeah, this inspires Mary Shelley, who, of course, wrote Frankenstein when she was 19 years old. So that is the feedback. We have to save ourselves because they're not going to save us. Rolling in the hay. Yes. All right. Let's go ahead. We'll do the Empaz prayer. Let's do some blitzes. Thank you all for being here. All right, we're going to do the MPAS prayer. If you would like to receive a prayer at this time, if you would like to receive a healing at this time, thank you for the hearts and the support. I appreciate that. If you would like to receive a prayer at this time, go ahead and give us your name or the name of somebody you love, and we can, of course, include them in our prayers today. Also wanted to make an announcement that if you haven't started yet, we do have a Book of the Month club. It's by my bed, actually, because I've been reading it at night. Search for the Sun. Search for... Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so In Search of the Sun, One Woman's Quest to Find Family in Japan, Lisa Lowitz. Please check it out. She will be in our studios with Chuck and myself, Taco Tuesdays, on July 16th, 6 p.m., and she'll be able to answer all your questions about the book. It's a great read, particularly if you like to travel without leaving the comfort of your own home. This is the book for you. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring in the MPAS prayer. We've got people that want to be prayed over. Frau Blucher. Yes, and I think I have family with the name Blucher, which is the name of the company that makes glue from horses in Germany. The Blucher Glue Company, which they didn't know when they, Frau Blucher, and the horse would always do that. And then when they were in Germany, they're like, oh, we thought it was because of the Blucher Glue Factory, produced by Blucher. Isn't that crazy coincidence? All right, let's do this thing. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say Amen. And for those of you who are requesting a healing at this time, we pray for you and for those you love, that you receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and spirit. And together we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. May all souls be healed. Chaim. Yes, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was written in 1818. Loeb's, 1818, cool. Loeb's Frankenstein, it was called The Golem. That story dates back to the 15th century. The film is 1919 was filmed. But the story of the time, Loeb lived in the 15th century, supposedly. I believe it was the 15th century. All right. Old Jewish story, yeah. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what you guys got to say here. We're going to go say hi to everybody. All right. The big bad bill. All right. The big bad bill. What is going on with the big bad bill? Let's do Blitz. What's going on with the big bad bill? When does it start? I think it would start relatively soon, right? It's another tax break for the rich. And who's going to be paying the bills? You and me. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants a tax break. You get a tax break. I get a tax break. We all get a tax break, and to hell with the country. We just want tax breaks. Let the whole thing get torn down. Tear everything down that Carter created and FDR. Tear it all down. Get rid of Social Security. Get rid of Medicare and Medicaid. You're just a peasant living on a massive compound, right? There will be legal consequences, whether or not they can even do this. So there are people that question the constitutionality of this bill. I'm seeing lawsuits and legal action both being challenged in the state and on the federal level. So yes, the bill passed, but is it even legal? I'm seeing legal challenges here. I'm going to go ahead and put this on a different, so you guys can see the cards. I'm going to pull back a little here. Okay. That seems to be a little bit better so that we can see these cards a little bit better, makes it more enjoyable for you to receive your readings today. But we can see here that the truth is coming out. Archangel Michael, he's the spy. He tells the truth. He is attempting to access information on the truth. That is the story of Michael. Michael always bears the truth. He cuts through the clouds of confusion and he tells us what is going on. Again, same as last time, the opposition in arms, right? Happening very quickly. And we're seeing an aggressive, violent response quickly. So we're seeing Americans getting mobilized very, very quickly. I don't think they're going to do very well in midterms. I think it's very obvious. You know, it's like that song, Don't Be Fooled Again. It's like, how many times do we have to be fooled? But you can see that Eight of Wands, which is this aggressive kind of fast moving strife. It can be a strife card. The hopes and fears. We were heartbroken. Also remember, heartbreak can also be a sense of betrayal, or a third party comes in and messes you over. So it's a feeling of heartbreak, but we can see the people respond with lawsuits against the bill. So we're seeing this is the time when the aid company, the aid organizations that work for the people, by the people, I'm seeing lawsuits. We're taking it to court. There's sobriety over this, which means that the sobriety of what's coming out, the hidden will be revealed. We must educate the people about what's happening. We don't need a third party. We need Democrats to be the party of the poor, and we need to brand ourselves as the party of the poor and the working class. We need to get back to being the party of the poor and the working class. And we need to not only be the party of the poor and the working class, but it needs to be upheld by our actions. We need to engage in actions that support and help the working poor, the vulnerable. Betrayal. This is all about cheating and betrayal, that the people were betrayed, that this element comes in, that there will be legal actions as a result. The people will not put up with it, just like they didn't put up with it. Look at that, stabbed in the back. I had a feeling the Ten of Swords was going to come in, because you see all this betrayal and cheating and stabbed in the back. What happened while we put our heads in the clouds? What happened to our justice system? What happened to the Supreme Court, the federal and state level? Can we save ourselves? Can we save this country? Yes, one district at a time. Which means the only way to save ourselves is we have to begin to take care of one another, the village we live in, Are you serving in the village you live in? Are you out every day handing out soup, blankets? We must save ourselves because they don't care about us. They have been compromised on private yachts and everything. We know this. It's now public information. We've seen it time and time again. Every one of these creeps on a mega yacht somewhere or at a party somewhere, escaped victims, whether it's here or Dubai or somewhere else, talking about sex parties, right? Cameras, golden juice, right? So if everybody has been blackmailed, if everybody is a tool, and then look at all the betrayal, the courts, even the courts have betrayed the people. But the opposition is that the truth comes out, and the power of having the truth and the sobriety of what has done, which means that most people are not going to read something that's 7,000 pages. So we have to condense it as clear as possible into only about 200 words, because most people will shut off after 200 words. They didn't want to pay their taxes. They didn't want to pay their workers. They drank their own Kool-Aid. They think that they're the star of the show and they shouldn't have to pay for anything, right? Like the kleptomaniacs in Hollywood, right? The actors, well, I don't have to pay for anything because I was here. That promotes your business. Look at all the fans outside and the cameras because I came here. So I'm giving you business so I can take the scarf and not pay for it. I am superior. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm an actor. No, you're an actor, fruitcake. All right. So the people must come to realize how bad it is that they were betrayed, and the people must do the work to take their country back. And it starts at a local level with us taking care of ourselves. If we take care of ourselves, then we can save ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, if we continue to be just like them, trying to get the money at all cost, stabbing others in the back, then the ship will sink. We must lead the way through our ethics and our values of what is important in life. Community, service, upholding certain ethics and values, right? Is Trump and Putin working together to stop Ukraine? I think that Trump has discarded Putin. In fact, Putin hung up on Trump today on the phone. Somebody attempted to assassinate Zelensky and failed. I think that happened today. But evidently they say Putin is close to hysterical because he also is receiving multiple attempts on his life, including cars blowing up, bomb threats. Let's take a look. Trump and Putin. 10 of Swords. So Putin feels betrayed. So there's a sense of betrayal. You stabbed me in the back. I put you in that White House. I'm the one that ran that campaign, right? So Putin feels very betrayed. I got to go where the money is. You know, I'm getting more money from them than I got from you. I don't have to listen to you anymore. Elon paid it off, right? Elon paid my debts, right? Everybody's bought and sold. Everybody's trafficked. This is the world of the slaveholder. Trump himself was sold, right? He and his debts were sold to his pimp, Putin. You're going to do what I want because I paid for you, right? I got to get my money back. Same mentality. Then what happens? Another oligarch comes in, Elon Musk. I'll pay his debts off. Now you're my, but now you're my bitch, right? So everybody's stabbing everybody. Everybody's buying everybody. Then out goes Elon. Now, the weird thing about Elon is that there's some real evidence that Elon got co-opted by maybe the NSA 30 years ago, right? When he first started PayPal 20, 30 years ago. So who the heck is this guy? You know, you wonder who he is. For sure, he was working with some intelligence agency when they started monitoring paychecks and money and developing systems like PayPal where they know every penny that's wound up in your wallet, right? The opposition, contracts and evidence, real estate. It's as if Trump is saying, well, that was then and this is now. Our relationship, our old days of money laundering are over, right? It's also evidence against. There's the presidencies, and the final outcome is 2 of Cups. A new relationship, a new love affair. So did Trump just move on to another partner, to another situation? The clarification, confusion. So Putin is confused. I think Putin is on a boat that is sinking and he's calling, well, I freaking bailed you out. I loaned you $500 million. Right. What's happening? Why aren't you giving me what I want? And so the money is the issue. So, but my debts were paid. My work here is done. I don't owe you anything. It's a feeling that Ace of Pentacles, the opposition. So, and 7 of Cups, you have no power over me. Which makes me think that the tapes or whatever, Putin doesn't have access somehow. Why doesn't Putin have access? A new beginning for Trump. So he's headed in a new direction. Ace of Swords. No, Ukraine wins, and Putin is not doing well at all. There's a new contract, new money. Look at Putin. Confused. What the hell, you backstabbing bastard, right? Oh, honey, I got myself a new contract with new money, honey. It's a new. Well, this pimp gives me more money than you did. I got better money with him, so I switched pimps, right? I got a better block. He treats me better, right? It's a new beginning for Trump. Archangel Uriel paves the way, territory and space, right? Time and space, wands. The presidency and the new partnership with Ukraine, Ace of Swords. Putin is out. So this goes back, it's an interesting thing that Joel mentions here, which is this idea of something big happening July 4th. Yeah, they basically voted for the big bad bill because they wanted to leave. Come on, man, we're on vacation. We got on planes on Thursday night. We're having a 3-day weekend. Yahoo! To hell with America. We didn't want to lose our July 4th. We're roasting weenies by fire. To hell with America. I got a party to get to. On grandma's potato salad, right? They just want to get their 3-day weekend, give themselves another raise, right? July 7th, what is going on? Any terrorism planned? You know, what the hell is going on? America's stunned and shocked. I can tell you that just with those cards. I mean, like, what the hell has happened? What? You were conned. That's what happened. July. Let's take a look. The Knight of Wands. I see more activity. This is the war card. This is on God, charge. We could be seeing more U.S. service people being deployed to other areas, possibly outside the United States, the Middle East, etc. On God, charge is an act of war. It's typified by the fire sign. Again, space, territory, time. And it's the active, fiery red, and headed there. That horse is going. On God, charge. We're going to war. So we see war. The charge of war, the opposition to the United States is the star. The star. Star is China. Star is China has the star. Does Iran's flag have a star? The flag of Iran. It used to have the old flag, and then you have the new flag. No star. Interesting that the star comes up because the star is associated with China. So that's got me a little nervous. So we could be seeing something going on also with China. Hopes and fears, grief. America is grieving. They're very, very upset. There's this feeling of grief. Final outcome, we're going to war. War. Knight of Swords is war. The bold and it's violence. So I see violence here in the United States. I see out of control protest. I see protesters being charged by horses. I see U.S. service people being deployed outside the United States. I think we're going to win the 2026 midterms, because this could be the American people. Actually, this could be the domestic situation, the power of the people, the star. We have to be very clear, and we have to re-examine our party and its relationship with big business. Poverty. People are really afraid of poverty. Can I afford to live here, or do I have to move to Mexico or Panama or somewhere else? If I pay 1/3 of what I pay here just to go over the border of San Diego to Rosarito, Baja, Mexico, Baja, California, then why the hell be here when it's just so easy to go move to, you can get a 6-month visa, and then you just have to leave to go shopping in San Diego every 6 months. It's only 40 minutes. The shuttle comes and takes you there. Then it leaves every hour. Catch the 4:00, ladies. Back to the shuttle. All these seniors going in and out of the Tijuana border. Nobody cares, right? You're not working, or if you are working, you're working online. Final outcome is the dead. So it's not looking good. July 4th, I think, is the beginning of the revolution. Do you think we're looking now at revolution? Do you think that we're now looking at another revolution for the American people? Because I do. Just like when China fell, right? The oligarchs of China, right? The aristocrats, the Forbidden City. It just takes one guy getting us organized. It just takes one Mao, right? Mao Zedong. Organized with his own army, right? Of protesters. France, right? People getting assassinated in their beds. The Jacobowitz, what were they called? What were they called? The Jacoba something or others? Some of the artwork is incredible. You guys ever see the artwork from the French Revolution? French Revolution artwork? It became its own genre of art, so that people were, murder in the bathtub. These were real situations. The death of Marat. Girdar Cassinis was the modern painting. Is that correct? I think I know what I'm talking about here. Let's take a look here. So it became the imagery was the imagery of what was going on at that time. What's that? Why is that? I don't know what's going on there. Hold on. Let me try this again. I got it pop up. Ever seen this painting? Beautiful painting. Iconic Jacques David, The Death of Marat. Yeah, I wish we could get a better picture of it. The point is that it was its own genre, right? So, yeah, he also did the, oh, that one's beautiful. Yeah, some of these are just gorgeous. You know, some of these paintings that that really told. He also did several of Napoleon, right? He was the man. David was the man who painted several of the Napoleons. Though they say it wasn't really Napoleon; it was somebody else that he was painting. Yeah, he was stabbed while he was having a bath. Yeah, David was in the classic setting, but yeah, if you look at Napoleon on a horse, that's also painted by David. So the point is, to make a long story short, we're looking at revolution. Knight of Swords, definitely, I would say, is revolution. Yeah. Will it break out? Yes, because there are parades and things that are happening July 4th, and I think it's very likely that it will turn into something more aggressive. People are not happy with this president. Why did Trump freeze weapons going to Ukraine? Let's take a look. Ukraine presents as the empress. She is wealth personified. It's very wealthy land. The wheat of Ukraine, right? The harvesting of the wheat. So that would be Ukraine's energy. Now is the time when we harvest the wheat, July to August. You have the winter wheat also. Just about ready to harvest the wheat. Ace of Swords. Hopes and fears, Ten of Swords. They're going to have to work out a deal. They're going to have to work out a deal because one of the reasons why there's inflation on food is because of the wheat. The wheat is not the trade. See, trade. You see? Here's Putin. He had victory, but then he ran out of money. Two of Pentacles. Even his corruption money is missing. Hopes and fears, betrayal, and to be stabbed in the back. Final outcome over the Lovers. August. Putin doesn't have any more money to keep the war going. He's going to have to make a deal because from what I see, there's no more money left. Will the EU give Ukraine more weapons support since Trump stopped military aid? Probably yes. Could be part of his big, beautiful bill. You know, more money for us, more money for the slaveholders, right? People should be angry and we should be organized. There it is again, the charge of war. Yep, they will never, as long as it takes, NATO will not abandon Ukraine because to abandon Ukraine would be the collapse of the West, the higher ethos. the charge of war. We don't need a lot of money. That we just need, the drones, etc., are not expensive. So they can, they're also more tactical. Here comes the King of Peace. I think that Putin wants an out so that they can withdraw troops because of the Chariot and the Six of Swords and the opposition they want to get out of there. Also, their own troops are abandoning them. It looks to me like somebody comes in to try and negotiate a peace. I think that's Zelensky. I'll tell you, step 4, if they go against the data, then they know. We used supercomputers, the people that were planning this stuff for decades. Now we have supercomputers. Were we right in what we were planning to take back Ukraine and to take out Putin and to the fall of Iran, first by collapsing their proxy military, Syria, etc.? Were we wrong in our data? According to now, they have supercomputers. They can look at supercomputers. And what are the supercomputers saying? Supercomputers are take these people out because we're a minute to midnight. And if you don't take them out, we're going to see nuclear war in the Middle East. We're going to see a nuclear meltdown in Eastern Europe. One errant bomb hitting a nuclear power plant, you got a dirty bomb. And this guy is so erratic, he'll do it. Right? So they can't stop. Not if they look at the data. If you look at the data, you have no choice. It's not like there's a choice to be had, right? If the data says you either do this or we're toast, do we really have, if you look at just hard data, do we have a choice? Is there a choice? What do you guys think? What choice is there? If you don't want people to die, if you don't want a nuclear holocaust, what choice do you have? You have to do step 4. After we see a ceasefire in Gaza, we will see hostages exchanged for Hamas prisoners, right? Then Hamas leadership will be invited to a host country, right? And a new government will form with the Arab states helping to create a free place for the people of Gaza, right? And then they will adopt the rebuild. Then we will see a comprehensive rebuild. Then what's step 4 after? What should we start seeing down the pipes? They say that they're going to get to ceasefire this week. Does that bode well for Putin? Probably not, because his being taken out is according to the data, is you go after him next. This is hard science. This is supercomputers determining the fate, that the things we have to do if we don't want to die, right? It's just pure math. And then what do we see comes after the fall of Putin? We must dismantle our Iranian leadership. We don't have a choice. We can't make a deal with them because they'll just use the weapons to kill more people in the West. There is no deal to be had. Not with this leadership. Maybe someday when Putin is gone and Ali Khamenei is gone, right? Are people mad and upset? Yes. Do people want to scream at the supercomputers? Multiple supercomputers, multiple AI was used. It always came back the same. The data is the data, the math is the math. Why did the computer make these decisions? Because it was easier to topple Putin than Iran. Why was it easier to topple, even though he was popular as hell at one time? Because the strain from the war and the poverty and everything else makes him more vulnerable than Iran, right? He's becoming increasingly isolated, and Ali Khamenei is becoming increasingly isolated. So that is what the data, now if they go against the hard data, then we're in serious trouble. We're in serious trouble. Joel points out that only 29% of Americans support the big bill. Hi, Barbara. Yes, the food prices will be high so long as we have embargoes and we are blocking trade, and it's hard to get wheat and other supplies. Then we will see food scarcity. The other problem is global warming and erratic weather, which is causing crops to be lost. How many GOP members quit or retire before the midterms? So this is the other question. How are they going to do in the midterms? Yeah, I'm staying later because a lot happened today with Diddy, and I did a whole room. I tried to bring it together into one because I knew people were going to ask about Diddy. By the way, he will see no peace because he's got thousands of victims suing him. He will know no rest. His career is over, just like the guy said in the interview. He's lost his audience. And they're going to go after him for taxes too, by the way, which is how they usually take out people like Diddy. Oh, he's going to lose everything. His goodbye to the mansion. Okay, GOP. Let's see about the future of the GOP. Are we going to take them out? When is the least educated person in class going to figure this out, right? They're not your friends. And both parties are corrupted, right? So we have to look at each individual person at a local level. Do we know this guy? What's his track record? Do we know this lady? What's her track record? Citizens United. We have to override Citizens United with grassroots programs, right? Look, revolutions have happened before. They will happen again and again and again. The GOP, they took a leap of faith, right? What's the problem with the fool? Everything has a positive and a negative aspect. The fool takes a leap of faith and falls on their ass. Did they know? Look, it depends on who their constituents are, how poor they are, how badly they were harmed by this bill. The opposition is dancing in the streets. We're going to be joyful and don't be violent. I don't believe in violence. You know, Martin Luther King, we shall overcome hand in hand and no violence. When we get violent, we scare people and then they don't want to be part of the movement. So we do this through love and joy and singing and feeding the poor. You know, we have forgotten our way. There's, nonviolent resistance love is more powerful than hate. If we can love each other and dance in the streets and hand out food and sing songs that bring us back to our American roots, we will win. We must win with joy and with love and bread and compassion, not through violence. That is how we win. The hope and fear at this time, the violence and the aggression, August is going to be huge. And the final outcome, heartbreak and betrayal. The people feel heartbroken and betrayed. Two of Wands, the global partnership again. We have to pray, we have to march, and we have to also rejoice in caring for one another. Three of Wands. According to this, the energy I feel, there are Republicans that in the House that feel that they themselves were betrayed by this president. So that's interesting. That's interesting. So you have to ask yourself, what the hell happened with Murkowski? You know, she sold her soul for what? A few pennies? Going to Alaska? They would have done that deal anyway because it was money for them. You didn't have to sell your soul for those contracts. They still would have done a business with Alaska. She had the cards. They didn't have the cards. She had the cards. She got the oil. Revolution in August. That's my prediction. No, I think many are going to lose because the people feel betrayed. And Three of Wands, our ship is coming in. So I don't think it bodes well at all for their future. They should have done that. They should have seen the writing on the wall. Oh, hi. Hi, Alice. Yeah, they will quit or retire. Migrant workers. Yes, exactly. It's another thing. Going after our workers. Are you out of your damn mind? You want to go in 100-degree heat and pick watermelon in Simi Valley? Knock yourself out, right? Tomatoes rotting on the vine because of you idiots. I don't want to pay $5 for a tomato. Let's look at the farmers. I mean, it's suicide, right? So the rich can afford the food. The rich can afford it. The rest of us can't, right? We're back to what? Gruel? Oh, no, we can't afford grain. That's right. Picking dandelions, right? That's what peasants did. They picked mushrooms and dandelions, and that became their food. Grassroots. Stuck eating grass and roots, right? All right, the immigrant, the oppressed. Look, nobody wants criminals and MI6. We want them gone. We're talking about innocent people who are working, being arrested when they go to get their visas renewed. They're not even targeting the worst of them. Strength. The strength of the immigrant earned their stripes to be in this country, just like our ancestors did, right? They worked their asses off. Three of Wands. They win. Magician. It falls with the immigrant because the people that own these companies are not going to sit back and watch their stuff go belly up. There will be pushback. The power is with the people, the strength. It was a bad idea. They do this stuff to win votes, and it's just Trump's health. How is Trump's health? That's a really good question. How is Trump's health? I do not know, but I can't imagine it's good. How is Trump's health? Thank you, Joel. I know we're going a little late today. If Joel or anybody needs to take off, I'm upset. I'm staying late today. Okay. Trump. How bad is Trump's health? You love me. Trump's health. It's overdone. The Knight of Pentacles goes nowhere. So we're seeing this stop or slowing down. We could just see him being less active. I just don't have the energy I used to as Trump. When I put myself in the shoes of Trump, I don't feel good. There's fighting and rioting. People are fighting. Hey, outside the White House. He's done. I mean, if people could, they would tear him to pieces if they could get into the White House. Look at the fighting. Look at this. This is the night that goes nowhere. I think that Trump sealed his fate with this bill. I think he sealed his. Look, we knew MAGA was about to engage in civil war. It's taken a hell of a long time. But that's really what it looks like, that we're looking at civil war. And this guy, who likes him now? Who likes Trump? Look at that. There it is again. Fighting, betrayal, 10 of Swords. Final outcome for Trump. War. He leaves the country in a state of chaos and war because everything he touches dies. I think that it's chaos. I think that the experts come in to try and cool the heat. I think it's going to be a very, very hot August. I think that fighting is over the presidency. I think that sobriety and trying to cool things down, he has created chaos. I see civil war. I think that I get this impression this guy is not going to finish this term. Like he could be out in the next couple months. This Knight of Pentacles goes nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. I wonder if he's finished. Is this the thing that takes him out? Because his cards look terrible. Is China taking advantage of us not paying attention to their military buildup in Taiwan? Yes, and they have their own quiet civil war going on with Xi, right? Xi Jinping? Let's take a look. Is he in charge or is he under house arrest? Ace of Cups. That would be an offer of peace. I think the new people coming in after Xi do not want war. Knight of Cups. They just want the trade back. They want to cool things down. Hopes and fear. Xi is, they feel like Xi did a lot of damage. Knight of Pentacles. No, we will likely avoid war with China, and they will try and cool things down with the Ace of Cups and the Knight of Cups. This is inviting Trump to China, giving him a hero's welcome and opening up trade. The diplomat, the Knight of Cups, who comes as an emissary of peace. The hopes and fears war, the war king, the final outcome, it's over. Knight of Pentacles. No, this is a desire to work out the trade problems and return back to a friendly relationship rather than war. And I think it's because Xi is gone. I think they're removing Xi. I'll do a clarification for you guys over the issue. Yeah, because their economy crashed. Everybody's economy is hurting because of these trade wars. I kept seeing trade wars. Grief. They can't continue. They rely heavily on trade with the West. Yeah, it's over, dead in the grave. And that also comes with guarantees that we will fight no more. We're seeing this kind of guarantee. They can't afford to take us out. My hair looks gorgeous. Oh, thank you very much. I just got out of the shower. Okay, we'll do a couple of more. Rose Blue. Hi, Rose Blue. Good to see you here. Well, it's going to the Senate. More changes again. It will ping pong back it's going back to the Senate. Oh, because they keep changing it. Yeah, that's right. They keep changing the bill. So what's it going to do in the Senate? I see civil war. Let's see. Because every time they put it through, they have to change and modify it, and then it has to be voted on again. A new beginning. The opposition, Six of Pentacles, which is entitlements, back and forth, Two of Pentacles, and then the final outcome, wish has been granted. Let's do a clarification. Grief. Tied up. They keep talking about how we don't have enough money for entitlements. Ooh, you act like you're entitled. Yeah, because I worked my freaking ass off since I was 14 years old. It's this just looks like the Senate is scared out of their wits. Do you do the will of the people or the will of some senile old man who got caught with his pants down? Whose side are you on? Nine of Swords, Eight of Swords, the Truth. This looks like dirty, oozy, greasy energy, grief, tied up. Archangel Michael is there. You cannot hide the truth. My God, what have I gotten myself into? Nine of Swords. Five of Cups is grieving over the issue. Six of Pentacles, which is the entitlements, tied up. We don't have any money for the entitlements. Pay your frickin' taxes. Stop gaslighting us about democratic socialism. Like we're evil if we turn out to be like Denmark. Give me a break. You ever been to Denmark? It's the happiest country on earth. Iceland, They have the highest happiness index. They're fine. We're not fine. Stop gaslighting the American people. Yes, we want to be like Denmark. We want to be like Norway. That's right. That's exactly what we want. Pay your taxes. Yes, exactly, Fernando. Pauline, hello, my love. Yes, blue wave. Yes. They've lost in the polls, and I see a blue tsunami. Absolutely. This is what happened last time, only I want it to be bigger than last time. Yes, it's going to fall apart. It keeps saying it's going to fall, but you know what? It has to get bad before it gets better. And we have to be very consistent. And it keeps talking about the ground level. What can we do on a local level to walk with grace and dignity and walk in a manner that is befitting a child of God, a daughter of God, or a son of God? Like, how do we walk with spirit and by being upright and being decent ourselves and save those who we can save? Save yourself, put the oxygen mask on. If you can volunteer a couple of hours a week to serve the poor, the needy, foster a dog, anything you can do to embrace your own humanity is the best antidote. The more we recommit to those values that we uphold, the better it's going to be down the road. Because when we know who we are, we know who to vote for, right? We will be less likely to be seduced by false idols. Civil war in Texas is a real problem because of a rapidly changing demographic. How much more can they gerrymander and everything else? The writing is on the wall for Texas, right? Let's take a look. Only thing that comes out of Texas is what? Guys ever see Officer and a Gentleman? Steers and queers, right? Texas had a reputation for being tolerant of the LGBTQ community. It was a place where the LGBTQ community could go and be safe, the wild, wild gay West, right? So what happened? Why did this happen? Like, what was the story? The story was that religion and homophobia kept people from living authentic lives. So what would they do? They would go to the wild, wild West. And there they could be free and gay, and nobody was telling them what to do, who to love, who to marry. And so it was a land for, you guessed it, stayers and queers, right? So it wasn't something, so, you know, nobody would speak in Victorian times about, oh my God, what are they doing over in Texas? Homos on the range, yes. And what they wore is, it was just guys from the LGBTQ community opening up their own gay bars in an area where they could escape the authorities and they could go and be gay. And nobody, it's my damn bed. It's my damn business. It's my damn cattle. It's my damn bar, right? So great articles here on the LGBTQ community and the early origins of who went to that part of the world, why they went to that part of the world. And so in the end, some great photographs, by the way. Some of the early photographers were themselves LGBTQ. Some of the most famous photographers at that time, I think she was a lesbian woman. She presented as male. Actually, I think she identified as male. She was one of the main photographers. Here you can see some of the studs, women who, born female, identified as male. These are the studs, we call them. We have some stud marriages and some gay marriages on the Wild Wild West. That's actually a beautiful photograph. Oh, this one. I thought this one was really pretty. So the conversation becomes, what are the origins of this live and let live attitude that we see in Texas? And that is because Texas has always danced to their own drum. And this idea of getting into somebody else's bedroom and telling people what they could and couldn't do wasn't really, it wasn't what it was to be Texan. It's my bed, it's my woman or man or whatever. It's none of your goddamn business. And when they started taking away individual rights, that went against the values of Texas, and it started to be overrun by missionaries, right? Missionaries began to show up in these places like Texas, and when that happened, they began to slowly harass the LGBT community. That the whole reason they went out there was to get away from the religious nut jobs. Unfortunately, the religious nut jobs followed them out there. Texas, 10 of Wands, a heavy load lay ahead in terms of what they want to accomplish in Texas. So I see exposés. So also you could be seeing people getting caught with their pants down in Texas. And I think that's good, like exposing a lot of the hypocrisy in Texas. But it's a heavy load that lay on Texas, the star of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas, the star state. Exposure, sun. It's a very wealthy state in many ways, but I'm seeing that it's very, very difficult because of the corruption. And I'm seeing a possibility that we're going to see more of the corruption coming to an end. The troll farms have been hitting all the chats like ugly on Gargoyle. Thank you for your island of sanity. Oh, no problem. Yeah, I've had to block a lot of people. Texas would lead. Yeah, look at Texas's history. Be proud of your history as a place of cultural diversity and then fight to keep it that way. Tolerant. It's a beautiful history of tolerance. It's also a history of violence as well. But I think Texans have forgotten what it is to be a Texan, right? Oh, it's going to be signed by Trump tomorrow? Really? I thought that it had to go back to the Senate. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, pretty sad. Pretty sad. It has to go back to the Senate. Okay. Are you like, hey, cedar tree, clap your hands and dance with me. Hey, hey, hey. It's a beautiful song. Is that background? Yes, it is. The revolution is coming. Absolutely. Hi, artist Liz. Thank you for your love and support. Good to have you here. Priscilla's in the house. Jared Kushner and Peter Thiel are business partners. Yes, they don't care about us. They don't care about us. They care about their trade routes and making more money. The parasites, a bigger trough for the pigs to play in, right? Hi, Fernando and Kathy. We have to remain peaceful. Yes. Peaceful and kind. And the best antidote is peaceful protest and caring for those who cannot care for themselves. Because this country our government is being run by people that do not care about us for the most part, clearly. Yes, ICE has a private militia. It's terrifying. Do we leave or do we stay and fight? We're all going to have to decide. What are we going to do? We've got to take care of each other, that's for sure. We've got to start living together, putting up with each other. My grandmother, may she rest in peace, she died at the age of 27. You look at her old address in St. Louis, Missouri, it was 12 people to one house. They had these big houses, right? But it was 12 adults and a bunch of kids running because everybody had to pay for their room. It was the Depression. Yeah, don't burn things down. I don't like that. I don't approve of that. This whole smashing windows and, those are just assholes. Yeah. Okay. Woo, you guys had a lot of comments here. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Ooh, oh my goodness. I'm going to have to spend some time looking at all these comments. Simon, thank you so much for your donation. I hope you are well. I would love to ask you, see a major change for the U.S. coming with 47 and the looming Uranus shift incoming. So let's go ahead and see if what kind of spiritual shifts we're seeing for number 47. It just says he's over. Knight of Pentacles is a stopgap. Like, you ain't going nowhere, honey. Four of Swords is like in the grave. Like, this guy is, it's like he's wiped out. It's like the guy can barely walk. It's like he must just be exhausted. He's almost 80 years old, and he doesn't take very good care of himself. Queen of Swords. I see the Sword of Justice. The opposition is King of Cups. Hopes and fears, confusion. I feel like he's going senile also. In addition to the diabetes, the coronary artery disease, and the obesity, which makes you vulnerable to cancer also. Blood sugar dysregulation and obesity put you at higher risk of opening. It can stimulate epigenetics, turn on certain genes for cancer because it increases inflammation in the body. I'm a doctor. Yes, there are doctors that read cards. I'm a medical intuitive. But Seven of Cups is a card we use for Alzheimer's disease. Yeah. It's like, woohoo. And Moon also, cuckoo, cuckoo. Lunacy. Ace of Cups. I feel like Trump is too sick to complete his, poverty. He's abandoned. He will be abandoned. Ooh, I'm seeing strong women. I'm seeing grief over the nation and a strong woman, possibly AOC rising. AOC could run for Senate. Is she an Aries? Or is she what sign is she? I'm seeing a strong female, possibly a fire sign rising. I'm also seeing people showing compassion, justice, and mercy, but he has poverty over him karmically. That which look, the guy is terrible with money. He's absolutely terrible with money. But this is more than that. This is the guy who has to step. I don't know if he's going to step down in a couple of months, but it looks like he's going to step down in a couple of months. If he continues on, that would shock me because this guy is sick. He's also poor, broke, and abandoned. Annie Z, thank you for your donation. Very kind of you. She writes, Will Rump give Washington seat to Peter Thiel as bring rumored among federal employees in D.C.? If he does, he will pay a heavy price because we see the courts coming in. The Sag with the black cat. Yeah, the Queen of Wands, territory, and loyalty, and the wisdom of the cat. Ace of Swords, poverty. You know what? Trump has lost his base. I can say that with confidence. Trump's base is gone. It shocks me that Marjorie Taylor Greene said yes to this, because did she vote on this? Because this is poverty, look at this, and strife quickly. So it isn't looking good. I feel he lost his base. I don't know why he did this. He must have been so in debt or so to give this kind of handout to the rich. What the heck was that about? Sadly, Texas came down on Ogans and Wiccans hard. You know what? This is not what it started off. It started off as a safe haven for freaks and geeks and the LGBTQ and people that didn't want to live under the thumb of religious extremism. And Texas has always been independent that way. Yeah. China declares Russia as ally. You ready? You know what? I don't know, because China really wants that rebuild contract. And so it would be a huge mistake, I think, for China to not see the writing on the wall. But let's look at the relationship between China and Russia. Thank you, everyone, for being here. If you could like and subscribe and help me get to 100K, I would be beyond grateful. Thank you. God, what an interesting day today. We've been going for over 2 hours because of so many questions. And yeah, almost 600 people here. It's a heck of a day, right? It's like so much going on. China declares Russia an ally. Let's see. China, they want the grain. Look, China has between 800 and 1.2 billion people, right? So it doesn't produce enough food. It needs the grain. This is the grain and the wealth of Ukraine. They probably want access to resources from, they also have oil. 6 of Cups would be, no, you know what it feels like? It feels like a backstep for China, where they're like, come back, 6 of Cups. No, we don't want to fight you. She is gone. There's a new kid on the block. Let's just calm down. We all want to benefit from these agreements. We all want peace. We all want a treaty. We all want to feed our children. Let's just calm down. So it's almost like I see China trying to cool the waters. Final outcome, it's over. No. Yeah. Yeah, LBGTQ. Yeah, great. They'll be exposed. Good for them. China declare. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's yes, the mega churches, they took over and they're holding the people of Texas hostage. So what happened? Everybody in the LGBT community said, great, we'll go to California, right? They just kept moving to get away from the freaks. They weren't the freaks. It was these religious nut jobs that were trying to crawl into their bed and take photographs, right? It's like, yeah, you're creeping us out here, right? So, yeah. That's what's going on. All right. I think I am done. I am exhausted. Wow, that was intense. Was it not an intense day today? All right. So if you want a personal reading with me, you can contact me through Booksy. And the information is in the description of this video. If you just need a quick, simple reading, right? One that's like 5 minutes pre-taped and sent to you. I think they're $30. I usually get them to you in less than a week. And that's through Wizio. That information is below. If you become a member, which is only $2.99 a month, you can get a free 1-card reading weekly on Saturdays at noon Pacific Daylight Time, which would be 3 o'clock on the Eastern. And then we can give you a quick reading that way. It's very affordable. And on Saturdays, we now have a new show we're doing, which is called Insomniac Tarot. Insomniac Tarot. For people who stay up late on a Saturday night and you want to get readings. I do offer readings on Saturday night. People who donate do get first priority. So I had somebody who kept asking the same question over and over again and getting mad at me. I'm being nice. Tell me it. And I had not gotten to her question yet. And I was making priority for the people who donated. So I will get to you in time. Last time we had something like 400 questions. So I can't guarantee if I'm there for 2-3 hours, I can't guarantee that I will get to everyone's question, but it's first come, first serve. And people who donate come to the front of the line. It's just what we do to pay to keep the channel up and running, pay to keep Chuck. We do pay Chuck. He is the assistant. He's the person that calls you and books all that, the taxes, etc. So Unfortunately, I do. I do have to make a little money, please think about joining us Saturday nights. I think it starts about 8 p.m. depending after I've had my coffee. I usually have a nap on Saturday night, and then I can usually go for about 2-3 hours doing readings for people. Yeah, and so that's a way to either get a free or inexpensive reading if you can't afford a private reading with me. All right. I think that's everything. Again, please check out our book. We have an amazing book for our Book of the Month Club. As many of you know, Chuck and I started a Book of the Month Club for everybody who loves to read books with spiritual messages. I wanted to say I did speak to Lisa Lowitz. She will be in our studios on July 16th. I'm very excited about that. One of the things that she did when she wrote this book is she talked about the evolution of the chakras. And as she evolves up the chakras. It's one of the reasons why we picked this book, The Root. You know, how you're born. Are you born stable? What is your root? What is your foundation? You know, second chakra is, you know, sexuality, our love affairs, etc. So she goes through all the her evolution up the scale of her chakras, and as she finds her family in Japan, it's an interesting story. She falls in love, she gets married, she has a child. You know, all of these experiences. She's in search of her own family. This is a really good book, and I've enjoyed it very much. So that is our book of the month. Like I said, she'll be in our studio July 16th, answering your questions about the book if you did decide to join our online Book of the Month Club. Anything else I want to announce? Yes, if you have a book that you have written and you would like us to consider it for Taco Tuesdays, if you are an author and you'd like to be launched and discovered, you may be picked for Taco Tuesdays as our author. You can send your book to me, care of Dr. Whimsy Anderson, 1819 Southwest 5th Avenue, Suite 116, Portland, Oregon, 97201. That is the address. Send your book to me, and we will see if we can get it into our Taco Tuesdays. All right, everyone. I think that is everything I've got for you. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you guys. Much love. Thank you.